Hi guys, my name is Tom Antos, and in this video I wanted to answer probably the second most common question I get right after the number one question, which is, what's your favorite camera or the camera you would recommend? Second question usually is what tripod is my favorite, or what's the tripod that I use the most? And it's a question that really you can't answer because there is no one tripod, kind of like with the cameras. There is no perfect camera for every situation, so that's why there's different cameras I use, just different tools for different jobs. Same thing with tripods. I use multiple tripods, so I just thought that in this video I would just actually show you exactly all the tripods that I use and why. So here, like when I'm working in my studio, I kind of have what I would call more of like a permanent setup. And I have the Ursa Mini 4.6K camera up here, and kind of with the lens and everything, it's kind of a heavy setup, so definitely it's not something I want to like be carrying around all the time or taking it off and on the tripod. Yet I have to be able to move around the studio, right? Because if you haven't watched my video, for example, where I show my live streaming setup, well, whenever I do my Sunday live show, this is the camera that I'll be using, and this is basically the setup, and I have a monitor here so I can see myself, and I'm sitting over there. So that's the camera that I use, and because of that, this is the tripod that I use. This is from Succeed. This company, I've been using their tripods for almost 2 years now, and what's cool about them is that they're very sturdy. They're like, I would almost compare them to like Satchler. Satchler tripods, which are obviously very good quality tripods, but they're expensive. So this is like Satchler, but on a budget. But to be honest, I'm not sure if I really see like a difference, when it comes to quality. It has all the same really functionality and all that stuff. And I love it that I have actually this, and I have this smaller one that I'll show you in a second. That are, like for example, the legs are all carbon fiber. So they're very light, actually, the legs themselves. Now, here in this case, I have a nice big kind of a base for the studio. But let me kind of start off with first the head. So this is the head really that I'm using whenever I use a bigger kind of a cinema camera setup, like in this case, the Ursa Mini. So when I need something, a head that can support more weight, then I'll take this head. It's not the lightest head, it's a 100mm bowl. But it is very sturdy. It has really nice here functions for the fluid motion, basically, so that if I unlock it, basically how rigid I want this motion to be. I can loosen it. I can just push with my finger, and I can adjust it to various levels where now it's like barely moving, and even more. And for example, like level 2, you can see it's nice and smooth, but it's also it's going to allow you to have smooth panning. The same thing for, here the tilting. You have multiple settings here. This head also has a counterbalance. So for example, right now it's disabled. You can see when I start, like just if I put it too much to the front or to the back, it will, because it's a heavy setup, the tripod will just keep on going, right? Or the head will keep on going. But if I put the counterbalance on, you'll notice that it will stop. It will not go past a certain point. And this is only at setting 2. If I, for example, here is at setting 0, so it's still allowing it to go, but it's a lot more sturdy. But if I put it, for example, all the way to 7, you'll notice that even if I were by accident, let's say trip and lean on this, when I let go of it, see, it's going to spring back to its level position. And even though I have here over 20 pounds of camera gear, so you can see it's the same thing if I go forward. So definitely this is a feature that is very useful to me. So like I said, having this counterbalance, and then up here you also have your friction settings. So even if I were to turn off the counterbalance, so at 0, obviously it's nice and smooth, and the more you go, then again it just puts a little bit more resistance. Basically, it's a very sturdy head, very smooth. It keeps the weight of like a big camera setup like this, so you don't have to worry about it falling over or getting, kind of tipping over, getting damaged. So that's a cool thing. Also, it actually has a level, kind of a bubble head here in the back, and that's also illuminated. Press this little button, illuminates it. You probably won't see it here because I have too many lights in the studio. But I use this, this head actually and these legs whenever I'm working on like a feature film or something, or any kind of project where I'm using, again, a bigger camera setup like this. Then that's the tripod that I go with, because again, it can handle all that weight. And then you'll be able to see kind of when I'm on set, I usually turn this on and off, because usually on a film set, you kind of want all the lights to be on your actors and all that stuff, but not on the camera and the crew. so that you don't get any, like, let's say, of the camera or the crew reflecting, let's say, in anything that might reflect in the set. So because of that, basically where the camera is, usually it's very dark. So having this little function is very useful. It's just, you know, click it, I can have a little light, I can this way make sure that my tripod is nice and level. So very good head in that sense, 100mm ball head. What that means is that if I loosen this, you can see I can adjust here to level it, so I don't have to like worry about making sure that the legs are even on the ground. I just put the tripod more or less. Once I'm happy with this, then, you know, I press my little light here and I can quickly, okay, there, get my level and lock it. And I know that doesn't matter where I pan the camera now, it's going to be nice and level. So that's the head. The model, in case you're wondering, I'm going to post all the info in the description of the video for everything I'm showing, but this is the Succeed SC-V15/100RP. So that's the model of the head. Now the legs in here that I'm using, these are the SC-ENG/CF100D. Not the most user-friendly names, but again, very sturdy legs. You know, they have 2 sections here, as you can see, and I can easily, with these, for example, I can adjust the position too. So let's see, for example, I want to lift up the camera a bit higher, then I just loosen these and I lock it up, and there we have it. And then again, I can quickly, let's say, you know, adjust the level here, lock that, and I'm done. So that's the cool thing about it, is it allows me to work fast in the studio. Now this tripod can actually go pretty low, but that's when I'm using the other spreader that comes with the tripod legs. This spreader here is also from Succeed, and this is like a nice sturdy metal. It's actually kind of heavy, but this is more for studio use. It does have a handle here, so I could, because basically these 2 legs then fold, so it becomes fairly small and I can grab it like this and I could carry it. But again, it's more for, I would say, for studio use. And the reason why I say that is because it comes with these wheels too, which are, again, you know, they're meant to work kind of on a nice, smooth kind of a surface. So right now it's locked off. So as you can see, I can move this and it just stays in place. But I can very easily, and this is what I like with it, either, you know, here with my hands, I can go like this, unlock it, so this unlocks the position so that I can rotate left and right, and this I can unlock it so that now the wheel moves. But I can also do this very easily, you know, even like, for example, if I'm in a hurry, I can get up here and I can just do all the stuff here with my feet. So I can go like this, and the same thing on this side. And you can see once I freed these 3, the tripod kind of moves around nice and freely. And again, this is necessary for me when I'm working in the studio, because sometimes, you know, when I'm working with this big camera setup, I don't want to have to take this off the tripod, reposition my tripod, then put the camera back on. I want to be able to quickly move the tripod. And also, I don't know if you notice here, but I have a lot of cables. It's something that I'm constantly struggling with. Because, you know, this camera, I have, you know, time code in and out, I have video signal, I have microphones hooked up. So, you know, sometimes I have even more cables than this. But as you'll notice, I can still move this tripod freely, and the cables never get entangled, never get basically jammed in the wheels. And that's because, if you can see here, it has these little kind of protections, there's little covers, I don't know what you call them. So basically, whenever there's something here, whether it's a cable or something else, it will push it out of the way. Now, if you don't need that, then you can lift this up and you can lock it, so then that will expose the wheels. But the second I do that, if, for example, if I go over a thing, you see now it gets stuck. So that's one of the cool things about this, and why I personally really like this. I can just drop this, and this allows me to easily, like I said, move this around the studio. Now, if I'm, for example, shooting on location, but also with a big camera package like this, then I'll still take these legs and this head, but in that case, I take these original spreaders that come with it. So these spreaders actually allow you to go fairly low. You can kind of, you know, spread this out, and you can put the tripod nice and low. So that's the reason why I use this, and you basically just replace these legs here. You take this little rubber thing, you lift this up, and then you basically put this onto this end. And I'll show you actually in a second, because I have another tripod from Succeed that I also use that is similar. It's just it's basically just smaller. So here's my other tripod that I'm using. Also, like I said, from Succeed. And these are basically the spreaders, like I said, that I'm using on the other one. Really, the main difference between this and the other one is just this one's for smaller payload. So This is the SC-DV6/75RP head. When you look at the tripod itself, again, it's the same thing. It has a 2-stage. You can loosen this up, so you can lift it up and down. Now, if the spreader is the same spreader that the other one comes with. So you can loosen these, and you can actually go pretty low with this thing. All right, so this is it. So I don't know, this is what, like up to my knee here. So that's the lowest that is going to go with the spreader, right? And that's the same for the other, the bigger tripod. Now there is actually another spreader that you can get, so there's also this spreader up here. And this spreader, really what it allows you to do is to kind of use the legs without the bottom spreader. So this is like a mid spreader. So the way it works is you basically clip it onto these legs here. And I like it because it has this little, just a clip mechanism. Okay, there. So it kind of clips into these 3 sides. Then this way you don't need the bottom spreader. So I can take this off, and as you can see, I can now be like this, and it, you know, nicely adjusts. And again, I can go easily adjust the height of this. So you can see like this. I can bring the spreaders in closer because they come in closer together. The whole thing also just will fold in on itself. But now let me lock the spreader, for example. And there you have it. So you can as you can see, easily you know, adjust it. And this way, because the spreader is here in the middle, that allows you to just, you know, put this tripod here, you know, right on the ground. So if you're on uneven ground, that's how you work with it. Now, where you have to be careful is, and I already did this, you can scratch your floors. If you're in the studio, like here, I have wooden floors. And because this thing actually has very pointy kind of endings here, so because of that, you can put, actually there's these adapters you can put that it has like a rubber pads. So if you wanted to use it that way without that bottom spreader, then that's how, you know, that's what you should get. But for me, because I'm in the studio on even ground, whenever I'm in the studio, I'll either use this spreader, which is nice and rubberized here on the bottom, or that big one there over there. So with these tripods. But yeah, those are my Succeed tripods. Let's put this away now. And yeah, as you can see, even though they're sturdy, they're actually very, very light. And actually, maybe one last thing I'll kind of mention is about this head. So the biggest difference between this head and the other Succeed head is that it's just smaller, right? So it doesn't take up as much weight. But otherwise, like when it comes to functionality, it also has, you know, your friction adjustment for your tilt, for example, and your panning. So here you can easily adjust this. You can see, make it very loose or add some friction. The same thing up here. I can loosen this, very nice and loose. Now add friction. Plus, it also has the counterbalance functionality. So I can adjust this, and you can see it will spring back into its middle position. So that's cool. It also has the bubble head here. So you can see your level, or with your head is level, and if not, again, you can adjust it. Now this one is 75mm bowl, because again, it's just smaller. So you can level it. Another thing is actually this bubble is not illuminated like the other one. But otherwise, like I said, it's, you know, it's pretty much identical. Now, another thing I like about these actually heads is they also allow you to adjust the balance here. So let's say once you have your camera package and you kind of more or less try to adjust it so that it's nicely balanced between the weight of the lens and the battery and all that stuff. Well, you can here kind of fine tune it. So you can adjust where's the center of gravity of your camera, so you know it's nicely balanced. And once you like that position, just lock it easily. And here, for example, you have your you know, pin for, and it's like a double safety pin. So you got to pull this piece down, and then you can rotate it away. The base plate sits nice and flush in here, so it doesn't move in any direction. And then once you just press it down, that locks it in place. And again, to unlock it, you have to pull this down and then to the left. So that's again the double safety feature. So yeah, nice tripods, nice heads from Succeed, and they're more affordable than some of the competitions like Satchler. Also, when you get them, they'll come, you know, with your standard tripod bag, which I've already used and abused here. It's padded here, so it protects your head and things like that. So yeah, these ones definitely I can recommend. So those are like I would say the main tripods whenever I have like a bigger camera. package, because both of these will handle quite a bit of weight. And I'm going to put all the specs again in the description of this video so you guys can see. Now, what if I want to go even lower than these tripods go? Well, then that's when I get something like this. It's called a Hi-Hat. There's different ones in the market. This is from Manfrotto, and it's, you know, allows you to adjust it here to different angles. You can see like this or like that. So this one can go very low, and this will actually take my 75mm here ball head from Succeed, or I have another one from here. From also Manfrotto, and I will go up here and I have the kind of a ball attachment, which I'll show you here. It's attached to my other legs that I like, and I'll kind of get into that in a second. But here's basically this cool little ball head. So here it is. It's what's cool about this is it's 75mm ball head, so it will fit on the other tripod. It will fit on the little hi-hat here. You can put it like this, and then, you know, I can just tighten it here from the bottom. But on the top, it has a 3/8 inch screw, and it's flat. And what that means is that I can now use this with different, for example, heads, or I can even use it with a slider. And that's the reason why I use this, for example, this ball head and that tripod basically head with, basically on certain occasions. So again, putting on a slider is much better than using it, basically with the other tripods that I have, because you can, again, kind of sandwich the slider in between. So what I mean by that is I'll have here, the ball head, the ball itself, the 75mm ball with the flat top. Onto this, I'll thread my slider, and then on top of that, then I'll put this. And I've used this many times like that. So basically this head now sits on top of the slider. So I have a nice smooth head, but I also have a very sturdy base. And that also allows me to easily, again, loosen it because it's ball, and I can adjust it, and level, make sure that my slider is nice and level always. So that's the cool thing about this. And as you can see, I can go very low with this. Pretty much I cannot go any lower because then the screw here from the ball head here is going to be touching, but it still has enough of a clearance here. So this is, I don't know, like 3.5 inches maybe from the ground. So that's the nice thing. Now I can, if I want to go a little bit higher, I can do that with this Manfrotto Hi-Hat. So I can adjust it to different heights, and even the legs themselves are adjustable. So I can extend this a little bit and down. And for example, also it has a spiked bottom, so I can put it, like in the ground somewhere, really embedded. Or if I'm in the studio and I don't want to damage my floor, then that's when I use the rubber ending. So that's this Manfrotto hi-hat that I use. And the reason is really, the only times I'm going to use these legs is, again, when I want the camera to be very low to the ground, or the slider. So that's why I use this. Now, when I don't need to go that low, but I still want to have, the ability to quickly, let's say, put in a slider in between this, then I'm going to use my other Manfrotto legs. So here they are. And these legs actually, even though, they look like regular kind of tripod legs, one thing actually I like about them is that they go really low too. Maybe not as low as the hi-hat, but very close to it actually. So I can go all the way down to this height, and then here I can put my ball head again. So for a lot of situations, I'm going to be using these legs. These are, by the way, the Manfrotto 535. Also, when I'm traveling somewhere and, and I don't want to take the extra weight of the, and just the bigger size, then that's when I'll leave my Succeed tripods at home and I'll take these legs. These are obviously not going to be able to take as much weight as the Succeed legs. But to be honest, like when I, don't go overboard on my kind of a bigger cinema setups, even with the Ursa Mini 4.6K, I was able to use it with this and a slider on there, because basically then the slider would go here, like I said, and then the head, in this case I don't have a slider, so I can just put the head directly on it. So as you can see, I can mount my head here on these legs. These are the 535 legs from Manfrotto. This is the 502 HD head, which is a nice head. And I'll kind of get into reasons or basically why I'm using this in a second. But first I want to just kind of show you, you can get nice and low like this, but if I want to, I can quickly reset it. And here, for example, to this position, kind of here in the middle, and I can actually go much higher. So that's another thing. Now for me, this is the perfect size head, the 502, because again, if I need something bigger and more beefy, that can take more weight, and I'll just take the succeed head. But if I need something that can kind of be nice and kind of in between, where, like I said, it will work with DSLRs, DSLMs, but even work with like a bigger, slightly setup, like a cinema setup, then this will still do, and it's not as bulky, let's say, as the 504, head or some of the other heads that Manfrotto offers. So that's the reason. Is like basically whenever I'm traveling and I need a kind of a more versatile head, and I don't want to pack as big of a camera package, then I'll usually take this head and these legs, because again, these legs, once you fold them, they're nice and thin. They're very light too, even though they're not carbon fiber. So that's a nice thing. And as you saw, it can go very low. It can actually go pretty high too. Takes enough of the weight, and it has all the features really that I care about. So like, it has the friction here on the pen, and the same thing for friction here on the tilt. Now it has built-in a counterbalance like this, but the one thing you'll notice is that there are no settings here. So you cannot actually adjust it. Like if you wanted to turn off the counterbalance, you can't do it in this head. So that's one thing to be aware of. And also, for example, it has a bubble head here in the back, but again, it's not illuminated like the bigger succeed head. So sometimes that is a hassle. Like you have to get a light in there. Plus, I just don't like the position of the bubble head. It's like right underneath this, and it's hard to kind of see it. So that's sort of the things that I don't like about it. Also, I don't like the fact that it doesn't have the top sliding, basically, plate. It just has the actual quick release plate, which slides back and forth. As you probably know, that's what all the Manfrotto tripods have. So that's okay. I mean, you can still use this to balance it, but it doesn't have any markings. And I like my plates to be kind of secure. They just go in there and they don't move. So that this way, if I want to remove the plate on the succeed one, it just goes top and bottom. So if I have, let's say, something attached on the rails, and then it won't give me problems. With Manfrotto, what I find the problem is that because the plate doesn't go in top to bottom, you have to kind of slide it in from here. The problem is, sometimes I'll have, let's say, like I said, like the Ursa with the rails up here, and I have foul focus and things like that. And then if I want to, once I mounted everything and then I want to take this camera package off, I have to slide it, and then sometimes those rails or things will hit here, and I can't, and then I literally have to take everything off the rails. So that is a big problem, actually. So that's the reason why I like the succeed kind of system, or like the satchler system, where you just snap the plate from the top to the bottom. But again, this is usually what I'm going to be using with like a smaller camera rig. So because of that, then I usually don't have big rails and things like that to worry about. So when I'm traveling, again, this is nice. And then, like I said before, especially when I'm using a slider, then this is the only way really that I'm going to use this with, like a smaller slider, obviously. Then I'm going to be putting the slider in here between the head and the ball head. So that's the nice thing about it. And I kind of have one, basically everything in this nice package. So that's my Manfrotto tripod. And let me actually show you quickly just also how high it goes. So and what I like about this and the satchler ones is that it doesn't have any knobs or things like that to adjust the legs. You just have these little clips. You loosen them and it just drops. Now look how high it goes. That's one of the things I really like about this Manfrotto, these legs, because you can see it goes higher than me. Maybe I'll step back here so you guys can see better. So it goes pretty damn high. So, if I wanted to go even higher, then I'll probably just get like bigger, more sturdy legs. But even at this height, it's pretty damn good. Like I can hang off of it. See? So, it can take a lot of weight, the legs especially. So yeah, so this is probably my number one. I would say if you want to travel light, you have something that can take decent amount of weight and go fairly low to high. These legs, and then whatever head you want. But again, I think this is a good head. It's also from Manfrotto. And now I'm going to show you another thing I'm also using. Here's another thing I wanted to show you guys. What is this? Well, this is a monopod. I actually did a video about this already. It's the iFootage monopod. And what's cool about this is that this is like really ultimate light. Even when I'm like, for example, traveling with my family and I want to have something where I can, kind of stabilize my camera shots, I'll use this. Really nice head, actually, this iFootage head, the Comodo Head. So if you guys want more info about this and like kind of example shots, I'll just provide a link to the full review of this that I did, along with the actual, here, the monopod. What I like about it though in general is that, you know, the bottom's nice and grippy. You can adjust the friction here. I like these, for example, quick release systems here. You just pull this down. And for example, the same thing here. I can like adjust this height however I want it. Nice and quick. And then for example, again, I can, yeah, like this for example. And then again, if I don't want this extension tube, then I can just basically, the way it works is you pull these rings down and then you can detach this section. And then the same thing with this, then I can mount the head diode that same way. I pull this down, put the head in there, and that's it. And you know, the head is nice. Obviously, again, this is smaller head for smaller tripods, but it has, like I said, it has a friction adjustment, has the nice plate that goes back and forth, but actually has the markings. And this works perfectly for like DSLM type of cameras, where again, if I'm traveling light, but I want to have a nice sturdy surface, I'll put my camera on this. And even like this, you know, I wouldn't maybe make it too high, but at this kind of height, with the little spreaders that it has on the bottom, it actually it can kind of work as a tripod. It's not going to be the most sturdy tripod. If you're in a telephoto, you'll see it shaking. But when I'm doing like family videos and I usually have like a wider angle lens, then I'll just leave my camera on there. I can, you know, position it quickly, whatever, and walk away from it, get a shot, come back. Because again, it's gonna hold up the weight of like a little DSLM. So this is like this ultimate sort of a lightweight kind of a setup. That's what I use. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give a thumbs up and let me know in the comments why you liked it. And even if you disagree with me, instead of just giving me a dislike on this video, just let me know why you don't agree with my choices, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Because I know different people, you know, again, depends on what gear we've had experience using. What our budget is and all that stuff. For some people, this stuff might be too expensive. Like me, I kind of usually try to find something that's not too crazy expensive, not like the top of the line. I always go for something a little bit more affordable, but at the same time, I don't want to go for the cheapest stuff, because from my experience, the cheapest stuff just doesn't last very long. So like I said, this stuff is pretty cool in that sense that it's like all of these tripods, it's a lot of gear, but as you can see, it kind of covers different uses, different scenarios that I might be working in, and that's the reason why I have these different tools. And also these are just tools that I happen to have experience using. I've used a lot of tripods, but for some reason or another I kind of got stuck to, you know, to using these. Now there's other companies, for example, that I haven't tried yet, so if I try them, maybe I might like them a little bit more. So that's why I'm asking you guys, let me know what would be your choices for kind of like a big tripod and a head, for like a big kind of a cinema production camera setup, something kind of a mid-range, and then something like very small and portable for like, let's say, when you're doing travel videography and that kind of stuff. And anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you guys. My name is Tom Antos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.